Okay, let me mute everybody. All right. So we were talking about the change in demand and change in quantity demanded. And we are saying that a change in demand refers to a shift of the demand curve either to the left or to the right. And a change in demand is caused by other determinants of demand except the price. Okay. So all other factors, if they change, they cause a change in demand. So an increase in income, market size, substitutes, all will lead to a change in demand. A change in quantity demanded, however, is driven by changes in the goods own price. It's caused by a change in the price of the good. If the price of the good changes, then we call it a change in quantity demanded. So a change in quantity demanded refers to movement along the same demand curve. So when you are looking at quantity demanded, the analysis that we're looking at, the graph, where I use the bubbles to generate the graph. If you remember, the movement along the demand curve is a change in quantity. Oh, oops, I've forgotten that I erased that. Okay, so that graph where we moved from 10 cities to zero, 10 cities I'll buy zero, 7 cities I'll buy five. That is a change in quantity demanded because price is changing. Okay, if it's as a result of a change in income, then the demand curve itself will shift to the left or to the right. So a change in quantity demanded refers to movement along the same demand curve. A change in quantity demanded is caused only by a change in the goods on price. That distinction should be very clear to you. All right. So this is a change in demand. Okay. The demand curve has shifted from D0 to D1, and it's an increase in demand. If it has shifted inwardly, that would have been a decrease in demand. Okay. Okay. Any question to this point? Okay. All right, you can go on. So that is the graphical representation of this change in demand and change in quantity demanded. Remember, I said that demand, you can represent demand as a shadow, as a graph, and as a function. Okay. So this is the functional form of demand, the algebraic form. Okay. So the example here is that the monthly demand for calorie among a cohort, MBA, EMBA cohort, UGBS students is QD equals to 25 minus 3P. Okay. Remember, when you're talking about demand, is the relationship between price and quantity demanded, right? Holding all other things constant. So here, the other things have been held constant. Okay. If other things were not held constant, then we will have to add income to this equation. Say minus 3P plus 4I, or income, or expectation. Okay, you have to expand this model to include them. We didn't include them because we are holding all these things constant. Okay. So you can already tell that there is a negative relationship between price and quantity. Okay. If price increases by 1 cedi, what will happen to quantity demanded? Okay. From here, if price increases by 1 cedi, just a second, the audio didn't save the first. It took a long time to save. So let me just quickly save it before I lose it. 26. Okay. Yeah, let me save it. Okay. So this is the case. So there is a negative relationship between price and quantity demanded. So whenever, just keep in mind, whenever you see an equation that has minus something P, it means it's a demand equation. There is an inverse relationship between quantity demanded of a good and its price. Okay. So there is a negative relationship. I can easily plot this to know how people will respond to changes in price. Okay. You can easily say if the price is 1 cedi, how many units will the person buy? Can you guys try that. Okay, get a piece of paper, create a shadow, a price shadow. Okay, so create a column for quantity and a column for price. Just create, just like we did for the demand shadow, 2 columns, one for quantity and one for price. And then let's do this exercise. Okay, if the price is 1 cedi, what will be the quantity demanded? Can somebody tell us?
22.
22.
22. Okay.
22.
If the price was 2 cedis, how many units will a person buy?
19.
19. If the price was 3?
16.
16.
16.
Yes.
If the price was 4?
13.
13.
13.
Yes.
If the price was 5?
10.
10.
10.
What is the difference as price changes by 1 unit? What is the difference? What is changing in the
By 3.
quantity?
By 3.
Quantity is reducing by 3 units.
3.
3.
Yeah.
So this is the 3, that is the coefficient of the price. It tells you that if you increase price by 1 unit, quantity bought will fall by 3 units. If you increase the price by 2 cedis, the quantity bought will fall also, okay, by another 3. So 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, the difference. So if we want to increase the price by 3 cedis, you should know that the quantity bought will fall by almost 9 units, by 9 units. Okay, so that tells you the relationship between price and quantity demanded. Okay. Okay. Note that the other determinants of price are all captured in the constant. So 25 is a constant. How do you know 25 is a constant? If price is 0, what will be the quantity purchased? Or
5.
5.
if price was 0, how many will
25.
25?
25. 25.
25.
Exactly. So if it was for free, people will go for 25 units. So that is a constant, holding your income constant. These are all the things that people buy. Me going for 25 would depend on my own preferences, my taste, my income, and all those things. So we are saying that all the other determinants are captured in this constant 25 when price is 0. Okay. Note that the determinants of okay, so you can also graph the equation. So we have converted this equation to a shadow. So I just asked you what was 1, what if price was 1, what is the quantity if price was 2, and we generated the shadow. You can use the shadow you have generated to generate a demand curve. Okay, so you can actually move from a demand equation to a demand graph. Okay, so 1, 22, 2, 19, 3, that, and all that can generate the demand function graph for you. Okay. Any question on the demand function? Okay, let me ask a question. Is it raining somewhere? Yes, Nanaya, go ahead. Go ahead, please. Nanaya, go ahead. Your hand is up. Okay. Is it by accident? Okay, let me mute everybody again. What is so if the price is 0, the maximum quantity people will buy will be 25. Yeah. Yes, Lydia. Yes, go ahead. I can hear you, Lydia. Go ahead, please.
My internet was not working well, so I couldn't understand the algebraic example.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
The monthly market demand. Yes, please.
Yeah, so this is the relationship between price and quantity demanded. And we are saying that the coefficient here tells you by how much will quantity demanded fall if you increase price by 1 unit. Okay. If you increase price by 1 CD, quantity demanded will fall by 3 units. So you can just plug in 25 minus 3 times 1. Okay. And then if you increase price by 2 cedis, what will be the effect on quantity demanded? So as a CEO, as a firm, you should already have an idea how demand will change if you change your price. Okay. If you change your price, what will be the effect of that change of price on the demand? And this is the example that we were just going through. The last point I was making is that once you convert it into a schedule, you can actually draw the graph, the demand curve from the equation. Yes, Erasmus.
I wanted to find out how we model the equation. Because this is particular for the instance, clearly among the 2016 cohort of, so how we model for other instances.
So for your own product, you can do a market survey. So the market survey can give you an idea how sensitive people are when it comes to price. Okay. So people can tell you that, oh, me, as for this product, you can, sometimes if you go to the supermarket, they do this type of experiments where they say, oh, we have tested this, how much are you willing to buy this? No. So if the price was 5 cedis, how much will you have bought? You know, so you can do these things for you to have an idea about how sensitive your customers are to the price.
Okay. All right, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. Siba, I don't know whether your hand, yes.
Yeah, my hand is up, sir.
Yeah.
Please, I want to find out the interpretation of the equation as well as the tabulations, what we got. How do we interpret it to maybe a layman?
For a layman, okay, how do I answer this? What you have just seen is how to a layman, let's say the marketers in your company, they are lay, they don't understand the effects, right? So you are showing them that, okay, this is what will happen to demand if we change the price. Okay, you are a consultant to the firm. If you peg the price, pricing is very important. We have a section that I was explain pricing. If you price your product and you make a mistake, you lose the entire market. Just marginal differences in prices. Somebody is pricing at 2, you are pricing at 3. People move away from your product to that product. So we interpret this as the relationship between the price you are going to set and the demand that will be there for your product. The demand is how many units will people buy of your product, okay? So it's very important that you understand, and I'm saying that the interpretation here, the coefficient here tells you that we already know that if you increase price, demand will fall, but about how much is captured by the -3 that we have here. Okay. So in fact, the analysis, everything I've explained about this graph, let me do one more thing before I move on to supply. So we said that if the price is 0, quantity bought will be 25, right? At what price will quantity demanded be 0 from this equation? At what price would quantity demanded be 0? What is the highest price? What is the highest price that you can possibly charge? That beyond that price, quantities demanded will be 0.
8.3.
8.33.
33.
Yeah. So how do you get that? You set the quantity demanded to be 0, and then you look for the price at which it will give you that will give you quantity 0. Okay, so here you rewrite this equation, and let me do it in the text. Let me use a whiteboard. So we are saying that you have QD. So QD equals 25 minus 3P, okay, or capital P, any, okay. If P is 0, if P equals to 0, that's what you guys said the first time. If P is 0, then QD equals to 25, right? What about if, at what price will quantity demanded equals to 0? When QD is 0, when QD is 0, if QD equals to 0, oops, if QD equals to 0, then you are going to get 0, okay, QD is 0, so 0 equals to 25 minus 3P.
Sam,
Yes,
why
please.
is the price 0 and quantity demanded 25? Shouldn't the QD be 0?
Come again.
And then I'm saying, why is the QD 25 over here instead of 0? Because the question is saying at what price would the
Yes,
quantity
yes.
demanded?
I just calculated the first question that I asked you so that those who didn't get it will get. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm just repeating this. As for this one, it's a repetition. The first one is
okay,
a repetition.
okay. Thank you.
Welcome. So what we are focusing on is at what price will quantity demanded be 0, and that is the QD equals to 0. Okay. So here you can make the price the subject. If you remember the primary school, minus sign cross equal to comes plus. Okay, so 3P equals to 25. Okay. If you divide both sides by 3P equals to 25 divided by 3, and that will give you 8.33. Okay. So if you set your price equal to 8.33, nobody will buy your product. And the person was asking about the implication. The pricing is very key, and people are very sensitive to price. If you set it below 8.33, you'll have some demand, okay? But if you set it above this price, there will be no demand for your product. Okay? So that is something you should keep in mind. I can use this thing to also draw the graph, okay? I can draw the demand curve from this because I already know the axis, okay? I know the maximum on each, so I can draw the graph here. Let me just draw anything. Let's see. Forgive me for the nature of the graph. Okay. This is the demand. The demand equation, price is always on the y-axis. Right. So here's price. And here is quantity. So quantity is here. Okay. At what price at what quantity, what is, if quantity is 0, that means this. If quantity is 0, at what price will people buy 0 units? Okay.
8.33.
So that is the highest price you can take. That is the here at this point. Okay. 8.33. So here will be 8.33. 8.33. So that is the highest price in the market. You can charge anything between 0 and 8.33. Okay. So this is the quantity will be 0. If it's 8.33, quantity will be 0. At what if price is 0, if price is 0, then what is the maximum quantity that people come for? That is the 25. Okay. So here's 25. So the maximum quantity people will demand is 25 if it's free. And the maximum price is 8.33. So we've deduced that from the equation that we just got without actually mapping it. You can also map the 116 and all that. So you can say if the price was 1, I can also do that briefly. If the price is 1, then quantity demanded, remember what we got? 22. Remember? Got 22. If it's 1, people will buy 22.
That will be.
Yeah.
And this is the best more.
So
What you had in a class spray once?
that will be 22, somewhere here. Okay. So as the price increases, quantity demanded will reduce from 25 and to be reducing by 3 units. Okay. Let me see where I am. Let me mute everybody. Okay. 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 All right. So we have grabbed it. So we can go into supply. So what the same what we did for demand can also be done for supply, but the supply curve is a bit different from the demand curve in terms of price. If you are a firm, the higher the price, you are very happy when the price increases because you make more money. Okay, whilst the demand side, consumers want lower prices, firms like higher prices. Okay. So the supply is the same thing that we have talked about. Individual supply is the supply curve of a single producer is a schedule showing the relationship between the market price of a commodity and the amount the producer is willing and able to produce. Okay. So if the sachet water was 10 pesos, how many units are you willing and able to produce? If it's 20 pesos, how many are you? If it's 50 pesos, more people will produce sachet water. If it's 10 cities a sachet water, we will all stop our jobs and produce sachet water. Okay. So firms like higher prices. So the supply curve is upward sloping, or it's positively related to price, right? When it comes to supply, whilst in demand, it's negatively related to price. Quantity demanded is negatively related to price, but quantity supplied is positively related to price. Okay. So that is the individual producer. You can also have the market supply. Market supply will be firm 1 supply plus firm 2 supply plus firm 3. Or every supply in the market, when we combine, that will give us market supply. I hope that is clear. Okay. The supply curve slopes upwards. By now, you should know that the demand curve slopes downwards, okay, because it's negative. Supply curve is positive with price, so it slopes upward, meaning that the higher the price, the higher the quantity firms make available for sale. Okay. The higher the price, the higher the higher the price, the higher the quantity firms make available for sale. All right, determinants of supply. So the same analysis that we did for other determinants of demand, we also do the same for determinants of supply. It's not only price that influences supply of a good. Other factors can impact the supply of a good. And I'll just go through them quickly. Technology can increase supply. Okay. If you have a better technology, you can produce more. Okay. So discovery of a better technology can increase supply of the good. Input costs. If your input cost increases, your supply will fall. Okay. It will take a bit of time before you can pass it on to the consumer. So input costs, fuel price, workers are asking for salary increases, interest rates are high, it will affect your supply. Your supply curve will fall, okay, to be a shift. So all these factors will translate to a shift in the supply curve, okay, just like we did for demand, quantity demanded and demand, total demand. So we do the same thing here, okay. So input demand, an increase in the cost of input reduces the quantity of commodity that can be produced. So as your business becomes very expensive to run, you reduce production. The opposite is true. As the input cost falls, you can produce more. If workers are taking half the salary, you can hire more people and produce more. Okay. Other determinants, price of related goods. Okay. So if price of related goods are becoming cheap, and if they are complements, if you use your land to produce, okay, that's, I will not go into that. But basically, if you are producing a good and other related goods are becoming very expensive, and those goods are inputs for you, then obviously you are going to demand less, and you're therefore going to produce less of the good. Government policies can in fact impact supply. So government taxes, subsidies can all impact. So you can, in the next few weeks, the government, what's the name? The Minister of Finance is going to read budget and is going to come up with what government will try to do or plans to do for the year. And some of these things can include taxes, subsidies for businesses. Businesses don't like the taxes because higher taxes means that their supply, it will have a negative effect of their potential to produce. Okay. So since we did that for the demand, we can also just go through for supply. Change in supply and change in quantity supply. By now, you should know that a change in quantity supplied, one second, I'll come to you. From now, you should know that a change in quantity supply is driven only by changes in price, whilst change in supply is driven by all the other factors that we've talked about: technology, input, price of related products, and government policies. They will cause a change in supply, whilst prices will change quantity supply. So change in supply will shift the supply curve. Change in quantity supply will be a movement on the same supply curve. Okay. Yeah, there was a hand somewhere. Oh, okay. All right. So a change in supply is caused by the other determinants of supply except the price. So just the same way we did for the demand. An increase in wage will cause a change in supply. Discovery of a better technology will cause a change in supply. It means the supply curve will shift and all that, okay? Price change will cause a change in quantity supplied. The change in quantity supplied is caused only by a change in a good's own price. Okay. Any question to this point? All right, I will introduce the last one, the market equilibrium, and then our next session, we will go into the effect of changes, how the dynamics works when you are changing, when something is changing demand and something is also changing supply at the same time. What is the consequences? So we go into that. So let me introduce the market equilibrium. We say that the market is in equilibrium when the forces of demand and supply are in balance, okay? When demand and supply interact, then the market clears, or there's market equilibrium. It occurs when at the going market price, quantity demanded equals quantity supply. So say at price 5, the amount that consumers want is the same as the amount that producers are willing to supply. Then the market is in equilibrium. Okay. Consumers want to buy as much as producers want to sell, then it's balanced. The market equilibrium is a stable equilibrium. We say that it's stable. Okay. There is no tendency for the price to fall or rise until there is a shock. The shock can come from the factors that will shift supply or factors that will shift demand. That will cause a shock in demand or supply. But if there's no shock, then the market equilibrium will hold. I want to see if I have an example of a market equilibrium. I'll come into this. I'll go into all this later. I just want to show you. Maybe I should use a whiteboard. I'll explain these things later. Okay. So if you want an equilibrium, then this is demand curve. So this is not a complete market, right? You need to add the supply. The supply curve is upward sloping. So supply is like this. So that gives you supply. Let me put some text to it. So this is SS, supply, and this is DD, demand, okay? So this is supply upward is positively related. Quantity supply is positively related to price. Quantity demanded is negatively related to price. Then the market equilibrium is established. Okay. So here is equilibrium price. So this will give you equilibrium price, and this will give you equilibrium quantity that will be bought. Okay, so I can put a test here, P star or P equilibrium, and put another one here, Q equilibrium. Okay, so this will give you markets as demand intersecting with market supply. So I've done it graphically, how market demand interacts with market supply. In the next section, I will show you how the equation, the demand equation intersects with the supply equation. Maybe I can just show you the distinction before I close. Okay. Let me just show you the distinction between the demand equation and the supply equation. So this is, we already know the demand equation. 25 minus 3p is the demand equation. If you see the coefficient something plus 2p, it tells you that it's a supply curve. Okay, let me repeat that. Even without knowing that this is QD, if you are giving Q, because there's a negative relationship between price and quantity, that is a demand equation. If you see that the relationship between price and quantity is plus, then it's supply. It means that the higher the price, the lower the quantity supply. So this is an example of a supply equation. And in the next class, we will see how we can combine the supply equation and the demand equation. I've combined the graphs, but we will see how we do it with equations. Yes, Mandaya, I don't know. Yes, please.
Mandaya.
Okay.
So what may cause excess supply?
Excess supply.
Yes, sir.
You will have excess supply if the market doesn't clear. If the market doesn't clear, if demand is less than supply, or put in a different way, if supply is greater than demand, then you are going to have excess supply. I can show you in a graph, but it's a different concept that I want to introduce that will capture that essence. But let me maybe I don't want you to sleep and have nightmares about excess supply. So if, for example, the market price for illustration purposes, we are saying that the market price is 5, equilibrium price is 5 cedis. Okay, let's just say it's 5 cedis. I don't know yet. 5 cedis, 5 Ghana cedis, and equilibrium quantity is say 20 units. So at 5 cedis, 20 units will be bought and 20 units will be sold, right? So market clears. If for some reason government says that you should sell it at 7 cedis, that will be somewhere here. I hope you can see that. That will be somewhere here. If you get to this point, look at the supply. Supply will be more than demand. At 7 cedis, fewer units will be bought. If you mark it down to be less than 20 units. But because firms like higher prices, at 7 cedis, firms will like to produce more. But 7 cedis, consumers will like to buy less. The difference in how much producers produce and how much consumers buy will give you your excess supply. So this gap here is the amount of excess that is left. Okay, the amount of excess. When the supply is more than the demand, then there will be excess supply. The economy will come back to equilibrium if you have excess supply. Okay. So if you have, say, too much maize around and the maize price is high and the poultry farmers are not buying, what do you think the maize farmers will do? They'll reduce the price.
Yeah.
So if they reduce the price, they will come back to price 5.
Okay.
So equilibrium always holds until there's some shock in the economy. it will come back. As long as you have excess supply, too much tomatoes, nobody's buying. Buy one, get one free. Reduce to clear. So you don't want to have excess supply in the market because it costs you to produce the excess, but you cannot sell it. So you don't want excess because it's very expensive to have excess. I'll go into the details in the next class, and I'll also go to the opposite side when government says that sell it at a lower price. That will cause an excess demand.
Okay, sure.
Because if the price is too cheap, people will want the product, right?
Okay.
So demand will be more than the supply. Okay, so maybe I can explain this before we leave. If government says that 2-bedroom houses in Accra should be 500 Ghana or 400 Ghana, a lot of people would demand those 2-bedroom houses, but companies will not supply those 2-bedroom.
Supply.
So there will be a lot of demand but less supply, and that will create the opposite problem of excess demand. Okay, we will go into those details when we go into the demand analysis in the next class. Okay.
Sir.
Yes, please.
Some of us are learning now how to interpret the cash. So may I create your intelligence that when you are doing it, can you do it slowly for us?
I hear you. I hear you. So, but do me a favor, go through it.
Okay.
And then next week when I come back, it will be easier. At least know what the demand curve is, what the supply curve is, and you'll be fine. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. I'm going to end here. I have so we'll meet next week. Same time, and then we'll continue. But please go over the material before class so that it's easier for all of us. Okay. Enjoy the rest of. Yes, please.
Will the recording be shared?
So for all the recordings are on Sakai.
Okay.
If you have Sakai, please go to resources. If you go to resources,
if you guys don't have access to Sakai.
Yes. Let me just explain so that those who can access can share it on your platform for you.
Okay.
So when you go to Sakai, there is some knob that you have to click, and then that is the resources. So you look for resources on the left panel. When you go into resources, it will have the course outline and all that. I have created 2 folders, one for Dr. Jepoma and one for myself. It's called slides and videos.
Okay.
So go into that. I'll put all the slides and videos in there for you.
Hello, Doc.
Yes, please.
Yeah, please, will the slides be shared?
The slides are already there.
Okay. At Sakai.
Yes. So
Sakai,
for the slides,
okay.
you can just see it that the moment you go to resources, the slides are there.
All right. Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Hello, Prof.
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, please. The meeting ID, the Zoom meeting ID, will it keep on changing or will
we will use the same?
Okay. Okay.
Use the same. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Same to you.
And keep safe.
Thank you, Prof.
You
Thank
too.
you. You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, class.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Are you prof?
Thank you. Bye-bye.